A calm suburban house. A family pursuing the American dream. But on the morning of October 8, 2014, that dream was dashed. A father, mother, and two small children were found brutally slain in their upstate New York home. There were no signs of forced entry. There was no robbery. No one stands out as the obvious suspect. Just a horrific, unexplained crime that continues to haunt Guilderland nearly a decade later. So, who wanted the Chen family dead? And why? Today, we look at the horrifying case of the Chen family deaths, one of New York's most perplexing unsolved crimes. To understand the gravity of this tragedy, we first have to dive into the lives of the Chen family, immigrants who traveled from China to America in search of a better future. Jin Feng Chen and his wife, Hai Yan Li, originally came from Hoyu, a small hamlet in Fujian Province, China. Fujian is noted for its rich cultural heritage and a long history of emigration, with many of its citizens pursuing better economic prospects elsewhere. Jin and Hai Yan, like many others before them, sought to create a more prosperous future in the United States. The couple immigrated to the United States in the early 2000s and eventually settled in Guilderland, New York, a quiet suburb of Albany. They were part of the region's developing Chinese-American community, where they sought comfort in the company of relatives and other immigrants. Jin Feng Chen worked long hours at a Chinese takeout company run by family members, while Hai Yan Li stayed at home to care for their two sons, Anthony and Eddie. Anthony, born in 2004, and Eddie, born in 2007, went to local schools and were noted for being polite and well-behaved. At home, they played in their backyard under the watchful supervision of their mother, while their father worked tirelessly to provide for them. Despite the language barrier, Jin was able to communicate in English and have brief but friendly conversations with his neighbors. The Chens had a quiet, hard-working existence, with their sights set on their children's future. Though they were not wealthy, they were determined to make a better life in America. However, their dream came to an end in October 2014, when their house was the scene of one of New York's most terrible and unsolved crimes. In the weeks leading up to October 2014, Jin Feng Chen maintained his busy schedule at the Chinese takeout restaurant, often working late. His friends and co-workers noted no strange behavior from him. He remained the same diligent and quiet man they had always known. However, some sources believe he was stressed, possibly due to financial or personal difficulties, though he never openly acknowledged his worries. Hai Yan Li, as always, prioritized their two boys, Anthony and Eddie. The boys attended school without incident, and everything appeared to be completely normal from the outside. Neighbors remembered seeing the kids playing in their yard as usual, and no one thought that danger was lurking around the corner. Furthermore, the family's home, which is in a suburban region not generally linked with violent crime, was said to have received unexpected guests. Nobody knew at the time whether these trips were related to the crime. Despite these little, easily missed elements, there were no apparent signs of what was to come. As the first week of October passed, the Chens went about their business as usual, until everything changed in the most terrifying way possible. The exact timing of the family's final day is unknown, as there were no living witnesses to recount their final moments. However, based on police records, investigators believe the deaths occurred between 3:30 and 6:30 a.m. It's unclear whether the family was sleeping when the attack started or if they awoke to the horror unfolding in their house. As the morning hours passed, no one noticed anything was wrong. Concerns escalated when Jin Feng Chen failed to show up for work at King's Walk restaurant. Since he was a dependable worker, his absence and inability to call in sparked concerns among his co-workers right away. A restaurant employee later that day made the decision to visit Jin at his Western Avenue residence to see how he was doing. When they got at the house, they discovered the door was locked and received no reaction from inside. Because he could not speak well in English, the co-worker asked another individual for assistance in calling the police. When officers arrived, they discovered a horrific scene inside the residence. Jin Feng Chen, Hai Yan Li, Anthony Chen, 10, and Eddie Chen, 7, were all discovered dead inside. Hai Yan and the two sons were discovered upstairs, wrapped in blankets, while Jin's body was discovered downstairs. Each member of the family had been brutally attacked and stabbed, and the details of their injuries were graphic. A professionally executed hit. The nature of the crime baffled police right away. There was no evidence of forced entry, implying that either the family knew their killer or the offender had an easy entrance into the house. Despite the brutal nature of the killings, no property was stolen, ruling out a failed robbery. The savage nature of the murders, as well as the family's targeted targeting, led some to suspect it was a personal attack or a professional hit. Despite a comprehensive investigation, investigators found no immediate suspects or significant leads. To this day, the case is still unsolved, leaving the community and law enforcement with unresolved questions. Like what transpired inside the Chen family's home in the early morning hours, who would have wished them dead, and why? As the investigation progressed, more horrifying information emerged, adding to the mystery of one of New York's most intriguing unsolved killings. The horrible murder of the Chen family shocked the little community of Guilderland, New York. The community, known for its tranquil culture, was rocked by the violence, leaving locals in shock and amazement. The local Chinese-American community, to which the Chens belonged, was particularly affected. Although none of these suspicions were proven, several restaurant workers, like Jinfeng Chen, were concerned that the killings might be related to financial difficulties, commercial rivalries, or even organized crime. The Chen family bodies were returned to Fujian province to be buried. Guilderland hosted memorial services as the town, still reeling from the horrific tragedy, lamented the family's passing. The investigation remained throughout the years. Despite occasional media coverage, there have been no significant developments in the case, which is still unanswered. The killings of Jinfeng Chen, Haiyan Li, Anthony, and Eddie continue to be one of New York's most haunting mysteries, as there are no known suspects or obvious motives. Together with the larger community, the town of Guilderland keeps looking for justice in the hopes of finding answers that may never materialize. The murders of the Chen family are still unsolved, but the media and law enforcement have put up a number of ideas and possible suspects. But no one has been proven to be directly responsible for the crime. Here are a few possibilities. Number 1. Someone known to the family. One of the most popular explanations is that the killer or killers may have known the family, because there was no forced entrance into the house. The lack of robbery and the brutality of the attack imply a personal motive, which could point to the involvement of someone the Chens knew. This may be a disgruntled friend, relative, or business associate, or even someone who worked directly with Jin at the restaurant. Number 2. Motives. Associated with business. Some have hypothesized that the deaths may be connected to a money issue or business dispute involving Jinfeng Chen, who worked at a Chinese takeout shop. Tensions with others may have resulted from the Chen's business operations or indebtedness. The terrible events might have been caused by a rivalry with another business owner or someone involved in the restaurant industry. Number 3. Involvement in gangs. There has been suggestion that organized crime, mainly Chinese Fuzhou gangs, may be connected to the killings. If the Chens were singled out because of gang-related problems, these gangs, which are notorious for their involvement in extortion, money laundering, and other illegal activities, may have contributed to the killings. Nevertheless, no hard proof of a direct link to these groups has been discovered. Number 4. A stranger's random attack. Another, more unlikely scenario is that the Chens were attacked at random by someone who had access to their house or knew their habits. Although this scenario is still hypothetical, the absence of forceful entrance might suggest that the attacker knew the house and was able to enter without being seen. Number 5. A family conflict or personal vendetta. Some have speculated that a family feud or personal grudge may have served as the driving force for the murders. Someone who harbors a long-standing animosity toward the Chens, possibly due to money problems or unspoken disputes within the family, may be involved. Number 6. Possible contractor or service worker involvement. Prior to the murders, the Chens had their house renovated, which has raised the possibility that a service provider or contractor with access to the residence was involved. It might have been simpler to commit the crime if the perpetrator had intimate knowledge of the family's home or schedule. All of these theories are being considered, but no conclusive evidence has surfaced to connect any of them to the killings. Authorities are still looking for fresh information and leads that could assist bring the Chen family justice, and the case is still unresolved. The brutal murders of the Chen family shocked a community and left behind a trail of unanswered questions. For years, law enforcement has worked tirelessly, following every lead, but the case remains unsolved. Despite the passage of time, the pain and grief of the Chen's loved ones remain as raw as ever. Who killed Jinfeng Chen, Haiyan Li, Anthony and Eddie, and why? Was it a personal vendetta, a random act of violence, or something more sinister? We may never know the full truth, but one thing is certain: their story is not forgotten, and the search for justice continues. If you have any information that could help solve this case, please contact local law enforcement. No detail is too small, and sometimes, the smallest piece of information can lead to the biggest breakthroughs. Thank you for watching, and remember, justice for the Chen family is still a goal worth pursuing, even as the years go by. Until next time, stay vigilant and keep asking the hard questions.